Ospreay in a battle of wills.
I'm going to put together a match that's going to have the world talking.
I'm here to elevate. This is for them, everyone, man. From the British Independents to New Japan Pro Wrestling to All Elite Wrestling. All those chapters are closed, but this is a brand new one that's about to start. Enjoy it, mate. Enjoy it.
Let's welcome to AEW, Will Ospreay!
See me, can you see me? Oh, see me with your able eyes, like through my own.
And it's official, Will Ospreay is all elite!
Oi, hamster, how you doing, you cheeky shags? I'm here in front of all of you guys to say I'm here for full-time work, baby. I'm all elite, bro. In and around my life.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, all right? Make sure you log it in and you remember to check out my good friends over at the Broken Table Podcast live on YouTube. These are some of my good friends. They have some of the best topics going on. They're talking about a lot of good things. And also, they like to put over the Prince Nana dance. Hey, I swerve and I drive. I swerve and I drive. Hey. Don't forget, tune in, log on to the Broken Tables Podcast live on YouTube, my friends.
Didn't work. There we go. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Broken Tables Podcast. I'm your host, Jeffrey Vegas, here as always with our co-host, Rome. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing all right, Jeff. I'm hoping that your stream holds up.
Yeah, dude, every time Windows puts out an update, things go absolutely crazy, and I didn't change anything, so, you know, it is what it is at the moment. Hopefully everything seems good. Let us know if there's any problems with the audio or anything in chat if you guys can, but seems to be going well at the moment, so we shall proceed. We're here for our AEW Dynamite review from Worcester, Massachusetts, or how'd they pronounce it tonight? A few different ways. Worcester, like I was kind of like, damn, I have no idea how to say this shit.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't tell you I always pronounce it the way you said it, but yeah.
Yeah,
but Worcester.
Decent crowd tonight. There was a couple of times where I wish they were a little louder, but then there were some times where I was like, my God, these people are loud as hell. So, decent crowd tonight. I'm not going to give them any like massive props or anything, but I'd say decent. What do you think?
I mean, I think the crowd responded accordingly to things on the show that were bad. I think there was definitely, I don't think this crowd was just, I don't think they were afraid of like, if they didn't like something, they didn't really pay it much mind. I mean,
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I think that there were a few things on the show I definitely didn't like, and the crowd always seemed to kind of act accordingly with that. So,
okay,
I don't know. We'll see.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, start off the show tonight with the rated R superstar Adam Copeland coming to the ring, basically to talk to the fans. It was kind of funny here. He pointed out, like, without my belt, I'm here to talk to you, the fans, right? Like, I didn't see the belt anywhere. And we'll get to that in a minute. There was this weird feedback on the mic that didn't feel like an accident to me. Both times it was the exact same sound, and it felt like a fake sound. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if you felt that way, but I felt like it felt fake enough to where I noticed like it might have been a worked sound.
See, I thought that too, and I agree with you, but like I don't understand who or what it would be. Like it just seemed like a weird place
Yeah,
to
I
do
agree.
that. So like I don't think it was intentionally done, but it definitely sounded intentionally done.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. So definitely going to keep our ears and eyes out, for that again, see where that leads to. If anything, it could have just been, the arena or whatever, but it felt like it was planned to me. So, especially because it happened the second time on literally on the word feedback when Adam Copeland was talking about getting feedback from the crowd. So that's where I felt like it was worked. He goes off on a really good promo on why he came to AEW. It's the most fun he's ever had in his career. He mentions the WWF, and the crowd wanted to boo, and he was like, no, that's not a reason to boo. Don't worry. You know what I mean? This was a great promo by him. I actually really, really enjoyed this promo. He mentioned Tony, Kenny, the Bucks, and Cody. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a response to a lot of the negative news that was kind of going around with them this week. Obviously, CM Punk did his interview. I mean, Ariel Helwani just, it's funny because it's WrestleMania week. You think the guy would want to talk about WrestleMania. Instead, he was just kind of fishing for AEW jabs,
Yeah.
whether it be Punk or Cody or Josh Barnett. It's just like he was fishing for it. But no, I mean, so Punk made his comments, and it's like it's kind of at the point now where I'm just kind of done hearing about it. And I understand that's what Phil does, and Phil's going to do that stuff. Like, I just kind of don't care, not just about Punk talking about it, but really anybody talking about it. I'm ready to move on. For the sake of my enjoyment of the product. It's not just AEW, but wrestling as a whole. But so yeah, I think Copeland came out here, and I saw some rumblings on Twitter where people are like, oh well, Tony totally had him go out there and say this, and I don't think that was necessarily the case. It felt like to me, I feel like if Tony wanted to send someone out there to make that message, I think he might have sent like maybe Jericho or something. That seemed like a job for Jericho if that was like
Yeah.
Tony doing that. You know what I mean? Plus, I also don't think that Copeland would straight up say anything he doesn't agree with. At
Absolutely.
this point of his
Absolutely.
career, he doesn't need to do anything like that. But no, I mean, what he said seemed genuine from the heart. I mean, and he's not really wrong. He's talking about how he loves pro wrestling and he wants to see pro wrestling do well. And as he reaches the end of his career, he says like he wants to end his career in AEW. He's having more fun in AEW than he ever has. He puts over the locker room, saying it's the best locker room he's ever been a part of. He talks about all the people you could have matches with, first time ever matches, Ospreay, Omega, Hangman, Claudio, Joe, Moxley, Darby, FTR, the Bucks, House of Black. And he's just talking about he's having a blast, and this is the most fun he had in his career. He wants to celebrate AEW and everything that it does for the industry, and it's important. It's their place in the industry is extremely important. Even Cody said as much
Yeah.
today during his interview, again, because Ariel was trying to get some dirt and Cody wasn't having it.
So I wanted to talk to you about that now that you've mentioned the CM Punk one and the Cody one. So CM Punk kind of, sort of, from the Fed fans' point of view, dropped a nuke on AEW. They were like, oh, that's it. They're done. Well, here comes Cody today. And I know you and I are, we're both pretty down on Cody. We're not fans. You know what I mean? But he absolutely just shit all over what CM Punk said and was like, yeah, no, that's fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? So I kind of gained a little bit of respect here for Cody today.
The problem is that I think that perspective is really funny. And I know people are gonna be like, well, of course, Punk's his favorite wrestler and he's gonna say this. But like, I don't necessarily while CM Punk did not handle his time in AEW well at all, and at least in the interview, he does go as far as to admit that. But it's definitely worth noting that, so I think some of the Punk's criticisms to the company do have some water to them. I mean, like we've talked about it. Like, I definitely think that there were times where Tony just wouldn't talk, or not talk, but he wouldn't he wouldn't settle stuff. And we've talked about it over the years, where like little incidents will pop up and Tony could really easily kind of step in and squash it. And instead, he has Punk go to Collision, and Punk makes it clear that was a Tony Khan idea, that Punk wanted his release right after Brawl Out, and Tony said no. And like there are just ways that Tony could have handled things that would have made it better. And I do think that Tony's a nice guy. I think that Punk's definitely right about that. You know what I mean? So it's like there's definitely critiques that that Punk brings to the company that like, look, like we could be homers, and or we could just kind of say like, is he coming from it in the best place, like best intentions? Probably not, but he's not 100% wrong about some of the critiques, and Tony does need to improve on those, and hopefully he has.
Well, I mean,
and then on the flip side, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if you think about the boss that CM Punk had for most of his career, I wouldn't want Tony Khan to be anything like that. You know what I mean? So,
I think at the end of the day, so here's the thing, right? Like, and this is just my opinion, speculation. It doesn't matter what anyone says, or like, this is just my pure belief. I think that I think Punk, I don't think he ever wanted to go back to WWE. I think he wanted to stay in wrestling, and it got to a point in AEW where it was too far gone. And I think he realizes that WWE is his last shot in a major promotion.
Yeah.
That he wants to work in America, a North American major promotion. And so I think that he is going to bend the knee on a lot of things, and he's going to say that like, oh, I always wanted to be there, and stuff like that. And I don't know, like, could I be 100% wrong? Absolutely. I'm just doing the internet speculating. To me, I don't think he wanted to go back, but at the end of the day, like, he had to swallow his pride, and you can tell, he's not the same.
You could see it in his face every time he's on the screen. He's just like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah, like you could tell. Like it's like, I saw a tweet a couple days ago when the whole interview went down, is that like CM Punk is retired a few months ago. We currently have Phil Brooks playing the character.
Yes,
that is
this
CM
is
Punk.
Phil Brooks masquerading as CM Punk. Yes.
Yeah, no, this is Phil Brooks being the character CM Punk. The CM Punk of old, he's retired. He is no longer in service, and it is what it is. Like, again, like, it's just good to move on. So like, it sucks. It's not the way I would have wanted it to be, but it is what it is. So, and then Cody on the flip side, like, I believe that Cody had the experience that he had. I mean, it's also worth noting that he kind of low key seemed to admit that the biggest reason why he left AEW was because Brandy was gotten rid of. So like, I mean, that was kind of what I took from it, and a few other people on Twitter did as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's all about perspective, and I think that we should definitely not put too much stock into things that Phil said, but like, there's some validity. I don't think Phil handled anything well, but I don't think the company handled things well either. That's just my opinion.
I get it. But let's go over to the chat real quick. We got Michael Duke chiming in, and we got the Coog. Welcome, boys. How you guys doing here tonight? Welcome everybody else that's here with us as well. Just haven't thrown anything down in the chat. Man, I really enjoyed this first segment here with Adam Copeland. Everything he went over about how he loves Tony Khan, Kenny, the Bucks, even Cody. And then he made a really nice statement of AEW makes pro wrestling fun. And they really do, man. Like, they absolutely do. And then he introduces what I believe he said, the future of AEW, Will Ospreay, man. And that was an incredible introduction for Will Ospreay to come out to his match. I mean, what else could you do for a guy to put him over? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that Cope's promo, at the end of the day, like, it's the kind of promo you need a veteran leader in the locker room to have, and he went out and he did that. And a lot of the talent on Twitter seemed to kind of, not just today with the promo, but just really since Punk's interview, like, a lot of the talent kind of made little kind of remarks about AEW in a positive way, and
yeah,
it definitely felt needed for someone to say something. But the problem is like, it couldn't be Tony Khan. Like, Tony doesn't need to respond, and doesn't have to respond, and shouldn't respond to it. But it makes sense from someone in the locker room to request the time go out there and really just kind of put the company on his back, which it's what you need. And it definitely, I think I think it was great. I think they did a great job with it.
Yep, absolutely. So we get Will Ospreay versus the powerhouse Will Hobbs in the Battle of Wills. I liked the billing on this name here. The name of the match, the Battle of Wills. And we had Don Callis on commentary. He always does very well on the comms. Love when Don's up there with Taz and Tony Schiavone. And then we proceeded to have another incredible Will Ospreay match. This match was fan-freaking-tastic. He hits this absolutely disgusting sky twister. I mean, I don't even know what to call that thing, where he jumped off the top ropes, basically landed on Will Hobbs' head doing a twisting moonsault. It was almost like a Falcon Arrow that Seth Rollins does, where he always lands on his feet. But man, he basically lands right on Will Hobbs' face, hits him with the hidden blade for the 1, 2, 3. What a match, dude. I mean, what else can you say?
Yeah, man. Look, Will Ospreay. Isn't it crazy that he's only 30 years old?
It really is.
Like this guy, and that's why Cope says it. It's like, it feels like this guy's been around forever just because he's been doing it that long. But Cope says he's like one of the future faces of the company. And for all intents and purposes, like he probably is just beginning to enter his prime. So, and that's insane to think about. But yeah, it was a great match. It was an excellent match. I think we got off to a really hot start here with this match and the following match. So I was having a great time with the in-ring action tonight for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So after the match, Don Callis tries to raise both men's arms to celebrate, the Callis family having an awesome match again. But Will Hobbs is having none of it. He is absolutely pissed off. Kind of sort of gets into Will Ospreay's face. They argue for a moment, but Don Callis says, he's the golden egg, leave him alone, leave him alone. And as Ospreay is going up the ramp, Bryan Danielson's music hits early. He was supposed to have his entrance after the commercial break, but Danielson kind of wants to have that little face-to-face with Will Ospreay. And Ospreay says to Danielson, beat that. And Danielson says, I don't know if I can, and smiles at him. That shit was awesome.
So did you catch Don Callis whispering in Hobbs' ear?
Yeah, I thought he was just kept whispering he's the golden egg or the golden ticket.
Oh, no, I don't think that's what he was saying at all.
No, he thought he was saying something else?
Yeah, I think he was saying, like, just be patient.
Oh, okay.
They're going to dispose of him when they feel the need. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, he's running through the whole group.
He's beating the entire family.
Yeah.
Because he beat Takeshita. He beat Fletcher. He beat Hobbs. So, yeah, you're going to see it fall apart pretty quickly, I think, in my opinion.
I really hope when it does, though, that Fletcher is on Ospreay's side, because like that's part of the whole United Kingdom thing. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
All right, so Danielson comes out here for his match with Lance Archer. Both guys facing big old giant meat man for their match here tonight. This was great. Another good match here. Man, Danielson just absolutely destroyed Lance Archer's leg with freaking like Muay Thai kicks. They looked real. They felt real to me. Like they sounded real. I would not be surprised if Lance Archer's leg is in absolute pain right now. Like I always say, it's got to suck to wrestle Danielson. Danielson does pick up the win here, but he's got to hit him with 2 Busaiku knees. I mean, this was a brutal match. Loved every minute of it.
It's funny. I think that seeing guys like Archer and Hobbs and Wardlow as well,
yeah.
Whose stock really hurts every time these guys go out there and have great matches? Freaking Miro.
Yeah.
Like that's a guy that like you ask yourself, like, do you even need Miro? You know what I mean? Because it's like the guy hasn't been on TV much, and like they don't really want to use him, and whether it's because he doesn't want to get booked to lose or whatever it is. Like every time these other big guys go out there and deliver, um, Keith Lee too. Like that's another guy where it's like I don't know what's going on with Keith Lee, but yeah, like I think like Lance Archer just needs more TV time. He's incredible.
He's
So
so
is
good.
Will Hobbs. Like there's no reason why these two guys aren't like the big monsters of the company.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a single good reason to argue against it. So
No, I mean, it seems Lance Archer is being used more now that he's with the Righteous. So, maybe our wishes are coming true here. So we shall see.
yeah.
Next up was Chris Jericho to the ring, and he calls out Hook. Hook shows up. He accepts Jericho's whatever offer it was. I absolutely did not care enough to listen to what the fuck Jericho was saying. All I wrote down was this was lame as fuck.
I don't have the glasses on me, unfortunately. They're upstairs. I realize
Mine
that. Um, so on Twitter, someone in the building had tweeted that they put the graphic up before the segment. Like we saw it at home, but they also, how they show the graphics on the screens there too. And so they showed the up next Jericho calls out Hook, booze, based off this person on Twitter.
Yeah. I heard them.
I'm so sick of what'd you say?
I heard the booze, so they were there for sure.
Okay. I'm so sick of so many things here. One of them being this storyline. Like, just I'm Chris Jericho. We're reaching a point where like I don't want to put him on the same level as like the Hardys, but like we're there, man. We're just there. Where it's
Pretty
like
close.
no, we are there. We're not even close. We're just there. This segment was god awful. Like just F minus, just trash. This was a trash TV segment. I can't sit here and get behind it. I mean, so Jericho, number one, comes out and instantly makes the Hook signal not cool, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I was like, what are you doing? I literally said that.
Yeah, he's like, hey guys, don't you know the Hook signal?
He's all
guys?
hit the Hook signal. I was like,
no,
what?
let's do it. Bet. Like, I'm just like, oh my god. Like, it's like when you have like a group of friends, right? And you have the joke, right? Or you have a joke going around and it's funny and everyone's kind of laughing at it. And there's that one person that just doesn't know when to drop the joke. So they just like they don't have any timing of it either. They just keep making the same joke to the point where they kill the joke. Like that's Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is that person where it's just like, all right, it's not funny anymore. You've killed it.
Yeah.
So like the hook signal, RIP. Like I'm not saying he shouldn't use it anymore, but man, does Jericho just make it not cool? And then the crowd's booing this. Like they were half booing, half like apathetic towards this segment. Jericho is just kind of like it's the same shit that we've heard from Jericho before. Crowds hates it. It was garbage. So and again at the end he's saying like bet, like he's trying like hello. He reminded me of that meme where it's like hello fellow kids. It's just like what are you doing?
Now I might shock you here, but my problem wasn't so much Jericho in this. Hook's lines were lame as hell. Hook was like, all right, Jericho, let's do this. But I got my eyes on you. I was like, what the fuck was that? That was the lamest thing I've ever heard come out of Hook's mouth.
Well, I mean, of course it was. I mean, I can't. You can't blame that on Hook. Like that's not. Like what is he like? That's the storyline that Jericho has going right now. Like what? Like
I know. I want to know who wrote that
like,
for
hey,
him.
we're gonna team up, and you have to trust me, but like be wary of it. Like what else is Hook gonna say? Hook's not a talker. He's just not.
No, I get it. It's just like whoever wrote that was terrible.
I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho wrote it. Like,
I agree. I would 100% believe you if you told me that.
It's just not good television, man. Like we got to call a spade, and it's just so unenjoyable week in and week out. And so like now they have a tag match, and I'm sure Jericho's going to turn on Hook, and that's going to lead to a match at Dynasty, Jericho versus Hook. And like yeah, we can write this all down. And like I don't even want my flowers for this one because I know I'm right, and it sucks. It's just like. Yeah, it's
go ahead.
Stupid.
I only have one.
It's just stupid.
I have one thing that would be acceptable at the end of all this. If somehow, some way, we get Taz back in a ring, putting the fucking red rum on Jericho. That's if we get there somehow, I'll be like, okay. But
it would be a cool moment, but it's just not happening. Like,
I know.
it's just not happening. Taz has zero interest in getting physical, and it's not happening.
I know.
It's not.
But maybe seeing Sting have his last match maybe inspired something in Taz. Like, oh, I could do something, you know. But
No, I
I'm
think
just
Taz
having
has
wishful
neck
thinking
stuff.
here.
I don't think he can wrestle.
He has a bad neck, yeah, but he could probably put him in the Red Room. You know what I mean? He could put him in the Taz mission for a minute.
I hear you. The guy hasn't done any physical wrestling in like 22 years, though. Like we gotta. There's a difference between Sting and Taz. Sting was wrestling somewhat regularly before AEW.
That is
you know
absolutely
what I mean? Like,
true.
like Taz hasn't wrestled since like 2001, 2002.
Yeah. What up, Macho? Macho says Thunder Rosa versus Mariah May was the best match of the night. Good ending to the show too. I agree on that. Absolutely. All right. Next up was so here, let's finish this up here. So Hook did accept, and then we got a promo from their opponents, which are going to be Shane Taylor Productions. And I'll be honest, Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty put on a way better promo than that segment with Jericho and Hook. So you could say they saved it, but it felt like its own separate thing. But Shane Taylor Productions versus Hook and Jericho, that was very good promo by Shane Taylor here and Lee Moriarty.
So I'm gonna be completely honest with everybody here, because again, this is a place of honesty. You know, we're always honest with each other. I have zero intention of watching Collision this week. Just so everyone
same.
knows.
We were gonna say it at the end of the show. I'm not doing anything for Collision. That's way too late.
Well, I'm not even saying doing a podcast. Like, I'm just straight up not watching Collision this week. I mean, the time is just, number one, the time's brutal. And like, yeah, I could DVR it, but like looking at what they're kind of putting on, I don't really care about anything that they're advertising, which I understand why. It's because it's going on at 11:30 p.m. on the East Coast. So like, I get why it's not going to be a very enticing show. I would argue just don't do a Collision again. I mean, you didn't do one 2 weeks ago. I would just not do one again.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. Maybe he's just giving a few people some time to shine, you know. Maybe the network wants the show or something, but I don't know. And, you know, Macho says, why do we always hate on Jericho every week? He's entertaining. Listen, I can understand how, like, the Jerichoholics still are into it, because I still hear the people in the stands that are screaming while the others are booing. I get it. It's just for me, it's just gotten so boring. Like, it's been the same Jericho for 5 years, you know?
Look, and kind of to bounce off what you're saying, like, I understand that Chris Jericho is one of the greatest of all time. Like,
Yeah.
you can go back on the podcast, and I've sung the man's praises, whether it be like from the Brawl Out stuff. Like, we weren't doing the podcast like the first 2 years of AEW, but like I love Chris Jericho, and I've always loved Chris Jericho. But like, at the end of the day, like, it's same thing with the Hardy Boys, where it's like, look, man, like, we hit a point where like you gotta be able to, it's sink or swim. And like, if you're not, especially with a roster like this that's so stacked, especially when you have guys like Adam Copeland and Christian Cage and Sting, who are also up there in years and doing great work, just being the Hardys, just being Chris Jericho is not enough for some people, myself included. And the thing with it is that like, it would be one thing. It depends on how you use them. Like, if Jericho was more limited and Jericho wasn't really doing a lot of stuff, then it would probably be a different story. But the problem is that Jericho has been regularly booked and featured on this television show for the entirety of its history, and he hasn't done anything good in like 2 years, 2.5 years. And it's just like, it's just the same thing over and over again, and it's not very good. And it's just not good. It's just really bad. And like, again, like, look, if Chris Jericho is your favorite wrestler, I can totally understand just enjoying that you still have Chris Jericho going out there and doing it. And it's very impressive that he has the longevity that he has. And I don't want to take anything away from him. But at the end of the day, this is a review show, and I sit down every week to watch Dynamite, and every single week I'm left just not wanting to watch Chris Jericho. It's just not good.
And I think where it came from is like every storyline of his seems to be the same thing. It's like, hey, look at my little protege, Sammy. Oh, I'm going to feud with Sammy. Oh, it's over. Hey, look at, there's another little protege. I'm going to feud with him. Oh, we have a match. Oh, it's over. Like, it's just been the same thing. Like, we were calling it what? The Jericho Vortex, weren't we calling it? Like, every time a youngster
called it that. And that was a great way to put it, Jeff, because it's just like,
yeah.
I feel like Jericho, he sits backstage and he sees a hot young act and he wants to leech onto it and just like, oh, well, Hook's really popular right now. I should work with Hook. And it's like, that doesn't mean it's going to be good. Just because Hook's popular and you're Chris Jericho, it doesn't mean it's going to be good. And that's just kind of, I think, where Chris Jericho is right now, where he's kind of, for me, he's kind of like tarnishing his legacy. Like, there's a way that Jericho could still even be an in-ring competitor and transition, and instead he's still this like young hot rock and roller, go hard wrestler, and that's like he's just still doing his thing. And I don't know, man, like it hasn't been good in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like the last good thing that Chris Jericho did was when he was the Ring of Honor World Champion. That is the last good thing that Chris Jericho did. And even some people were over it by then. I still enjoyed that. But like everything following him dropping the belt to Claudio at that New York show at Grand Slam, everything post then has just been terrible. Whether it's been the JAS imploding, his brief brushing with the Don Callis family, him breaking up the Elite, which still made no sense to this day. The Ricky Starks Action Andretti thing, the Sammy breaking up with him and then getting right back together with him. Like, there's just so many things that have been dog shit time at week after week after week.
The Vortex sucked Sammy back in. It was so
everything.
powerful.
Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I just said the Vortex was so powerful, it sucked Sammy in twice.
Right. And now Sammy's off TV.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right, let's go ahead and move on here, though. We had Jay White versus Billy Gunn next up dude, I thought this match was awesome. From the very beginning of Jay White's entrance, he was having that awesome, Bullet Club dark entrance with the light. And man, standing right behind him as Jay White was ready to do the guns up thing was Billy. That was one of the coolest entrance, attacks I've ever seen. I thought that was freaking awesome.
I didn't like it.
What?
Here's the thing,
What?
right? Again, I wish I had the glasses right now. I didn't like it.
Well, hold on. So I hated the finish, but I thought the beginning of that was awesome. Like, you didn't like that attack on the
Oh, no. I mean, the beginning was cool, but in terms of the match as a whole, like, yes, I hated the finish, and we'll get there.
Okay.
I think that this match went way too long. I think that, look, I love Billy Gunn. Honestly, I do. And I don't think Billy Gunn is in a position of, say, like, a Chris Jericho, where, like, I hate everything he does. Like, that's not the case with Billy Gunn. I think Billy Gunn can still go in some capacity, and I think that he is still entertaining. But I felt like this match, number one, went on way too long. You could have accomplished everything this match did in about 3 minutes, to be honest, to be completely honest. Excuse me. And then I just think that, like, it was way too Billy Gunn sided. Like, yeah, like Billy Gunn got so much offense, and I just felt like Jay White was just his whipping boy for the whole match.
That's what I wrote down. I was like, Billy whoops Jay White's ass.
But that's not where Billy should be at this point of his career, and that's not where Jay White should be at this point of his career.
Did you see Jay White break into Billy's house, though?
I did, and I understand
so
that.
It was kind of like Billy was going insane. He got the upper hand by attacking him first, but I completely agree with what you're saying, too.
Yeah, but again, my point of it is the longevity of it. Like, this match would have been way better if it was a quarter of the length, because you can have Billy Gunn attack Jay White on the stage. You can have Billy Gunn go on a flurry of offense. But, like, come on, man. Jay White is like a world title caliber wrestler. Like, this man took a beating for like 10 minutes.
I do agree with that. I was like, man, Jay White's not looking very strong here against old Billy Gunn.
Like, I mean, we really need to protect Billy Gunn in 2024, the year of our Lord and Savior, 2024. Like, do we really need to protect him at this point? I'm just
I'll definitely give you that. So I'll agree with that. And then we get to this finish, dude. I hated this finish. So they show us the Acclaim watching backstage earlier in the match. And then later on, we see the Acclaimed are attacked backstage, rolling around on the ground in pain. for the second time, mystery people have beaten up the Acclaim backstage now. Remember the first time was the Undisputed Kingdom. Like, they seem to be some targets of the backstage stuff. And then the Guns come out and stop Billy Gunn from hitting Jay White with a chair, which would have disqualified him, by the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he doesn't use the chair, and then Jay White just hits him with a low blow, and he gets DQ'd.
Yeah.
It was the most confusing finish I think I've seen in a while. To me, it didn't make any sense. Like, I don't know. It felt like this was a no DQ match for most of the match, and then the chair comes into play, and it was all of a sudden like, no chair. But the Guns brawl with the Acclaimed. I hated the finish to this. I thought it was good up until we got involved with the Acclaimed and the Guns. Like,
yeah, listen, I mean, I think it was an overbooked mess of a match, and the ending is definitely the biggest perpetrator of that. It just wasn't a good ending, and it wasn't a good match. I saw some people on Twitter saying it was the worst match of 2024 that AEW's put out, and that might not be an incorrect statement if you eliminate like the squash matches. Like, I think for what it accomplished, like, it didn't accomplish much, and it was just overly booked. Like you said, like, they were fighting through the crowd for like most of the time, and then they finally get in the ring, and just like, the question is like, why are the Guns allowed to be in there? But Billy having a chair is where Aubrey acts.
yeah.
And then, obviously the low blow. Don't like the DQ finish. I mean, they've at this point done a few of them this year, I feel like. I don't know off the top of my head, but I feel like we've hit a point where this is like the third or fourth one this year. I don't want to see that. I would like to see us take a step back from that. I don't understand also. Here's the thing, right? I'm going to real quickly run through what you could have done and how it could have accomplished the exact same thing and been better. Okay? So, all right, Jay White's entrance hit. Billy Gunn attacks him. Billy kind of beats his ass around the ring, not in the ring, about a minute and a half of this, kind of throwing him around, doing all that stuff. Great. Okay, cool. Roll him in the ring, ring the bell. Jay White basically doesn't really get much offense for about like 30 seconds. And then the Guns come in. And then you can just do like a low blow. Like, I wouldn't even do the DQ, actually. Never mind the low blow. I would just say the Guns can distract. Jay White hits the switchblade. And 1, 2, 3. Like, we don't need to protect Billy Gunn from a pinfall in 2024. Again, the year of our Lord and Savior. We don't need to do that. It's just overbooked. It's just completely overbooked. Like, why did we do the stipulation where the Acclaimed and the Guns agreed to not be ringside if they were just going to come out and be ringside? Because that's dumb.
Yeah.
Why? Like, there were so many questions to this match of why did we do it this way, and it wasn't very good. Like, it again, like you said, like, the beginning was cool, and like they could have went a much different direction, and it could have been shorter, and it could have been better, and Billy could have just taken the pin, and you could have accomplished the exact same thing. Instead, we had an overbooked mess that I would define it as a WWE match ending caliber ending. Like, that's what I would expect something like that from booking over there. That's what I would expect from that.
It did feel a little sports entertainment-ish. I'll agree.
Very sports entertainment-ish.
All right. Next up, we had Renee Paquette doing an interview with Willow. Dude, this interview on the stage, like on the ramp with the crowd and the ring in the background. I love these. Do more of them. It was fucking awesome. And man, Willow absolutely killed it right here on this promo. Willow was feeling mother fluffing great in her home away from home. So apparently, Worcester, she had done some training here. This is where she got her start in wrestling. This was an awesome promo from Willow. I loved every minute of this.
Yeah, I think that this was kind of a great thing that happened because it got us back on track after what felt like 45 minutes of trash, to be honest. I thought it was a great promo. I love shooting the promo with the crowd behind you. I know, like, it's not the first time it's been done or anything.
Great.
But it's definitely a great way to shoot your promos. And if you have a packed house, I would definitely continue to do it that way. Excuse me. But yeah, it was a very emotional promo from Willow, talking about her ties to the area in Massachusetts and all that stuff, and it's great. Stokely is fully behind Willow, which for me that's a uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like Chris and I feel like Stat and Stoke are gonna cost Willow the title shot at
Yeah, it
Dynamite.
really the mannerisms of Statlander made it really feel that way too.
Yeah, I mean, because also like I feel I don't know, it's a toss up whether Julia or Willow should win this match, but giving Mercedes the title opportunity at Double or Nothing leads me to wonder if it's worth taking the belt off Julia just to have Willow drop it to Mercedes, because I do think Mercedes should win the title. I do think that 100%. So I don't know if you want to do a hot potato where it's like April Julia drops it and then May Willow drops it. I don't know if I would do that necessarily. So I think the best way to book that is to have Julia beat Willow. I mean, Julia's already beat Stat, so it's definitely believable. They've built Julia up to be a star enough where I think she could feasibly win that match clean, but I don't think it'll be a clean finish. Yeah, but so it was great. My only thing, right? So obviously Mercedes Moné comes out. I wrote in my notes that I love Stokely so much because he said last week Willow had what the young kids call a banger.
Yeah.
I love that line so much. But anyway, so Mercedes comes out, basically calls her shot, wants a title match at Double or Nothing. She says, "In Vegas, money changes everything." My thoughts were, we're not really gonna sit on this Mercedes Moné debut for months, are we? Like, we're not waiting till May 26th or whatever it is, right? Like, that's because look, man, I'm just gonna say it, like, that's waiting too long. That is waiting too long. I expected Mercedes to be wrestling at Dynasty, to be honest. And I think having a pay-per-view pass and she's on your roster and she's not wrestling, I think it's a bad call. I think that's a mistake. I think we talk about staying hot and doing good business. It's like, why would you not run like it could be a non-title match. Like, this could be a great opportunity. Maybe, and you know what, there's still time because they were building up Serena Deeb to challenge Mercedes. Maybe they're going to have Mercedes versus Serena Deeb at Dynasty. I hope that's where they're going with it.
That'd be cool.
I definitely don't want to see Mercedes Moné sit on the sidelines until May 26th or whatever it is, 29th, 26th, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's a bad call. If that's the plan, that's a bad call.
And now that you put a date to it, I kind of agree with you, but I had it set in my head like the whole plan of we're going to get Willow versus Julia. It's going to look like Statlander is going to cost Willow, but I was thinking Mercedes is going to help Willow because Mercedes' first match seems to me like it's being built up to be against Willow. So that way Mercedes is forcing a title match into her match with Willow. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I thought we were heading, where Mercedes is like benefiting herself by making Willow win and then being like, all right, we got unfinished business. Now I'm going to take that TBS title because Willow took her title that she was supposed to win. You know what I mean? I felt like that's where we're going, but I almost agree with you that we should see Mercedes before that. Like, give her Serena Deeb. I agree. And she could do both of those things in the same night on the pay-per-view. She could wrestle Deeb, and then, maybe later on in the show, if it's going to be, you could have her come and help Willow later,
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think that's overbooking it again. Like, it's getting really complicated. It's not that complicated. I just think you should have Mercedes wrestle on Dynasty, and I think you can have Stat and Stokely cost Willow the title, and then they can go off and they can start their feud, and that lines Mercedes up for Julia. But I would just have Mercedes wrestle on Dynasty. Like, I
agree. I think Mercedes should be on Dynasty as well.
Like, look, I'm not trying to take it away from Mercedes in terms of a promo, and we've talked about this. Like, that's not what she's known best for. She's got the aura of a star, and she's an excellent pro wrestler. Her talking skills, her mic skills, while good, not taking anything away from them, but they are the lowest of her skill set. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just not what she does best. She's best in the ring.
Yeah.
So for me, like, you know what I mean? Like, the booking of Will Ospreay has been perfect right? Where it's like the dude's doing some promos, he's doing some wrestling. You had Will Ospreay under contract. His first night available, what was he doing? Wrestling. Second night, wrestling. He's doing promos too, and that's great. You know what I mean? No, actually, it was first night wrestling, second night promo, third night wrestling, which again, that's excellent. Okada, same way. He had him debut in a promo. And then, his second appearance, he wrestled. Third appearance, wrestled. Doing side stuff on, outside the ring with Marvez and the Bucks and everything. Like, you don't just have Mercedes just be a talking piece until you're ready to debut her. Like, get her in the ring. Let her wrestle. Let her, you know what I mean? Like, again, like, this is that thing with Tony Khan where it's like, Tony, like let's not sit on these matches that you want to do. Like, even if it's a throwaway match on a Wednesday night, you know what I mean? Like you had Punk under contract. You have people under contract and you don't do some of these dream matches and then you lose the opportunity to do these dream matches. And I just don't want to see that happen anymore. Like, you know what I mean? So I would like to see Mercedes get her debut before Double or Nothing.
Yeah, like look what they're doing with Jade Cargill. Like she got to debut for a couple minutes in the Rumble, and now she's not doing anything until WrestleMania. Like
she was signed for 7 months and made 1 appearance, 2 appearances. Like that's ridiculous. That's terrible. And I don't want to see Mercedes go that route. It's just like and obviously it's not gonna be that bad because she is at least appearing on TV pretty much weekly. But like get her in the ring, just let her wrestle. Like come on.
I agree.
Enough.
But absolutely great segment. Awesome interview on the ramp. Willow killed it. Mercedes killed it. Stokely killed it. That was a fantastic segment. Loved it. Next up, we had the EVPs, Nicholas and Matthew Jackson versus the Best Friends in an absolutely fantastic match. And Rome, I've been saying it for a while. Trent Beretta has finally turned on Orange Cassidy. Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson pick up the win. Trent Beretta does not seem happy. They go for the big hug spot. And Trent absolutely annihilates Orange Cassidy with the Busaiku knee and walks out on Chuck and even walks past his mom, Sue, straight up the ramp. What do you think, man?
So, I mean, there's ways where it works. It was definitely surprising. AEW doesn't usually break up tag teams like that often, so like it's not too bad. The one thing I really liked about it was how Chuck sold it. I think Chuck sold it really well, and I would like to see Chuck Taylor stay with Trent.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where they're going, and I hope that's where they're going. Because here's my thing, right? I think the Best Friends are they're not the only ones, but there's a list of people that are in this company that have been there since day one and have at every time their numbers called, stepped up to the plate and done what they needed to do.
Yep.
Statlander was like one of them. And like, I just feel like give these people their moment. And I think that it would be a travesty to not give the Best Friends, specifically Trent and Chuck, a tag title run. Like I think breaking them up without having them win the gold in AEW, I think is just stupid. Like you did right by Stat. Stat, she's been there since not day one exactly, but she was there for a long time, and they gave her that where they gave her her championship run, and I think that like you should do that for some of these talent that have been there through it all and that are still there. So I think there's a way they could do this that's really good. It would make sense for Orange Cassidy to kind of separate from Chuck and Trent. Like I think that both the team and Orange Cassidy can stand on their own legs. I think that makes sense.
Absolutely.
To be fair, when I pushed back on you with the Best Friend thing, I was more so saying that I don't think Chuck and Trent break up.
I got you.
That was but you did call it, and it will lead to a very good match. I think Orange Cassidy and Trent's going to be a great match.
And to be clear, I never thought Trent and Chuck were going to break up. I've always thought they would go heel one day and be like, we're the only friends that matter. Like no one else is our friend. We're the best friends. You know what I mean? So something like that, nice heel. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I hope that's what they do. Again, the way Chuck sold it gives me hope that they do that. Like, I think it would be bad if Trent left and then Chuck was just kind of Orange Cassidy's like.
Nah.
That would be kind of weird. I'd be like, well, at that point, like I don't think Chuck by himself adds much to Orange Cassidy. I don't think Orange Cassidy needs Chuck, and then you kind of leave Chuck without anything, and that's a weird thing. Like usually AEW won't break up a tag team unless both guys are going on to bigger things. Like WWE has a tendency to there's one star in the tag team and then they throw the other guy out, and it's like that generally doesn't happen in AEW outside of like Santana and Ortiz, and that was more because Santana just didn't want to be a tag team. Yeah, it's Santana's fault completely. That's what I'm saying. So I mean, yeah, I think that it was definitely a surprising thing that happened on the show. This is kind of like a let it play out type thing where, I think it could definitely lead to some great stuff, but it just depends on where Chuck falls into it,
Yeah. All right. Next up, we had Mariah May versus Thunder Rosa with Tony Storm on the commentary. And man, this was a awesome women's match. They gave these ladies, they gave them like 15 minutes, but they didn't go the full. I think they went around 10. Thunder Rosa hits a nasty Tijuana bomb out of nowhere, to be honest. For me, I wasn't expecting the match to end like, you know what I mean? I was just kind of like, whoa, that's a finish. And Thunder Rosa picks up the win. And Tony Storm is absolutely speechless. I think for the first time ever. She says absolutely nothing, and she's just eyes wide, deer in the headlights until we go to commercial. I thought this was hilarious. This was a great match. Thunder Rosa versus Tony Storm for the championship. Let's go.
Yeah, it's set up for the pay-per-view. I actually kind of wanted Mariah May to win and then her have to face Tony. I thought that would have been really cool, but I mean, yeah, I'm cool with this. I mean, Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm never had their, like, oh no, I guess they had that Forbidden Door match, but you know what I mean? Like they kind of had unfinished business as it was, so it makes sense for them to get the match at Dynasty. So, yeah, I think that's gonna be a great match.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Next up, we had Penta looking absolutely incredible with Alex Marvez doing a promo. Penta challenges Adam Copeland for the TNT Championship because he's got Cero Miedo. I liked it. I think Penta looked awesome here. Penta's another one of those guys. You just mentioned it. He's an original. I mean, you guys know Penta's one of my favorites, so let's do
yeah, but he's an original, but he's held the tag titles like 3 times.
Yeah.
So yeah. Not the same as Best Friends, but I get your point.
Yep. All right, and next up was the contract signing for the AEW World Championship between the champion Samoa Joe and the challenger Swerve Strickland. This crowd was absolutely nuts for Swerve Strickland. I mean, they were just whose house? Swerve's house, back and forth for a good 2 minutes. Swerve looking absolutely incredible in that fur coat. Samoa Joe said a line that I thought was absolutely hilarious. He goes, let me tell you something that any rapper will understand. I'm going to leave you mentally scarred like you left a Diddy party too late. Oh my God, dude. I laughed so fucking hard. Which, thinking about it, I probably shouldn't have. It's not that funny, but it's pretty funny. Wow. Can't believe Joe went there.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? So usually I don't like when promos or segments like this end the show personally, but I thought this was actually a really, really good segment. I thought it was excellent for what it was. Man, when I don't want to put this Swerve Strickland. I mean, he's going to win the title at Dynasty.
He better.
There's no question. There's no question. I mean, since, with AEW in 2024, and we talked about it months back where it was like it's the pendulum swinging, and like AEW had like a rough 2023, like a really bad year for the company. Um, when there are guys that are here now in the building who are building for the future, and they want to they want the ball, and they want to be the guy. And I look at it and I see a Swerve Strickland doing that. I see a Will Ospreay doing that. Like, there are just people in this company that want to take this company into the future and build a dynasty, like Swerve said. And I think that, like, that's special and something that needs to be not remembered. I mean, remembered, but I don't know how to put it. It's just something of significance and importance. It's something that Tony should definitely value in his roster. And Swerve is just special. And him saying, I want to take the keys to the dynasty and stuff like that, like, I think you give him the keys. Like, it's,
what that
I think
reminds me of,
there's going to be a big year for him. I definitely expect that. And I think he definitely is going to fucking kill it. Like, he's just incredible. I mean, even tonight. So he tells Joe, oh fuck, I wrote it down.
Real quick,
Sorry,
you know what Swerve reminds me of when he said he wants to take the keys to the dynasty? He's kind of saying, give me the ball. Reminds me of, you want Philly Philly? He reminds me of old Big Dick Nick going over there and calling his own fucking play in the Super Bowl.
It definitely like that comparison, that's for sure. And I see it, no, for sure. So yeah, I just Swerve, telling Joe, like, fade that bitch, and then he strikes him. Joe not chokes him out, but beats him down with the chain, busts him open, and Joe's walking up the ramp, and the aura surrounding this man as he laughed and said, "I love this shit," as the blood's pouring down his face. And Swerve, he's like, "That's all you got. If that's all you got, I'm taking your championship, man. Like, I love this. Like, I love this feeling. I love as the blood's like pouring down my face. Like, I love this." And he takes the pen, he like kind of jams it into his face, the blood, and he signs the contract in his own blood. Which
Dude,
at that point, Joe seems a little shook.
that gave
as
me
he should
chills,
be.
bro.
As he should. Yeah, again, man, it's just that's top guy shit. Like, that's the kind of
Absolutely.
shit, when we talk about guys like Hangman Adam Page, right? And Hangman goes out there and does stuff, and I sit here and I say, that's top guy shit, right? And I've said it about a few guys in this company, and like, he's one of those guys where it's just like, well, what else can you say? Like, why are we even doing a podcast about it? Because, like, I'm fumbling through my words to describe how special it is.
Yeah.
So I
if
don't know.
you can't see how special Swerve is, I'm gonna have to use your bubble here. Can't help you.
For sure, man. I mean, it's funny to me because, I was talking in the Discord with Ty, who generally doesn't watch a lot of wrestling. He's kind of just back because The Rock's back, which, I mean, like, I can understand the nostalgia. I get it. And he asked me a question today, and like, it's something we've talked about before, and like, I already know it, but he says, he's like, I don't really understand this stuff. So, like, if Cody wins, like, what's next for Cody? And I'm just like, well, I mean, they don't really build stars. Like, I don't have an answer for you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who's after like, what's next for Cody when Cody wins.
So I
Like,
actually
say
figured
Cody
it out.
should win. Huh?
I actually figured it out. So
Oh, yeah?
Cody's going to be like, I'm a fighting champion, unlike Roman Reigns. I'm going to have an open challenge every Monday night. So ha ha ha. And then it's going to be Damian Priest showing up with the briefcase being like, I'm ready for you, Cody, anytime. That's your next 6 months of Cody Rhodes.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, see, it just that doesn't sound good. And again, like, that's not even like a good program. So but like, on the flip side, I think it was Nat that said it, or somebody said it, and it was a great point that I didn't really have an argument for. Like, flip side, like, what's next for Roman Reigns if Cody loses? And it's just like, well, I guess he would feud with his family again. Like, I guess he would feud with The Rock, and
probably just disappears and goes to Hollywood.
yeah, I know, I guess. It's just funny stuff.
Yeah.
But then, Ty on the flip side asked me, he's like, He's like, well, I don't watch AEW. Like, does AEW have like an even playing field where like someone wins a title and there's like people lining up? And my answer was, there are easily 10 people at any point in time that could challenge for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship.
Yep.
Easily. Like, we could sit here, we could both name 10 people and they would be different lists. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that fucking insane? Like, to think about this roster and think about this company, and like, look, if we've talked about it before, if you don't get AEW at this point, you just don't want to. Like, that's what it is. Like, and I just think that that's the facts, where it's like, at any point right now, God forbid, Swerve broke his leg on next week on Dynamite, right? God forbid. Instantly, there could be 5 or 6 people that Tony could swerve, pun intended, to give that person a shot at the title at Dynasty. Like, there's just people. And then there's people that are out right now that when they come back, there's even more people. Like, right now, this company doesn't have Hangman Adam Page on the active roster, doesn't have MJF on the active roster, doesn't have Adam Cole on the active roster, and Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin. I don't know how I'm going to feel about him coming back when he does, but Jack Perry, like that's 6 guys that are on the bench right now. Like, we're not even talking about active people that could come in and make an impact. We're not talking about the people that are here right now, like the Jay Whites, the Orange Cassidys, go Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, Hobbs. Like, we could just keep going down the list, and there's just so much talent on this roster. And again, that's also, I think, kind of why I get so mad with like people like Jericho stealing up TV time.
Yep.
Like, we could have had one of these guys who, I want to see weekly. Instead, we get Chris Jericho weekly. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's not good. That's not what I want to see. Not at all.
That's not what anyone wants to see.
No.
Well, maybe Macho. Macho likes Jericho. I understand.
Hey, look, and I get it. And like, look, I'm a believer in like what you like, but I do reserve the right to give my opinion about what you like.
Yeah.
But like what you like,
That's what we're doing here,
Yeah, it's always kind of it sickens me because, like, obviously WrestleMania is here in Philly this week, and I'm on vacation this week, so I'm out of work. So like, it's everywhere. Like, I turn on sports radio, they're talking about WrestleMania. I went to a Phillies game yesterday. Phenomenal game, by the way. Just love the experience. And the link has WrestleMania stuff. There's WWE tents all over the place down there. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks. Like, some of my employees at work took off next weekend because they're going to WrestleMania, or this weekend. Like,
Nice.
it's just been prevalent in my everyday life, and it sickens me. Just absolutely sickens me.
So we finish off with, like you said, Swerve was laughing on the mic saying, if that's all you got, I'm taking your title, signs the contract in blood. And Joe, even though he looks a little shook, he makes his way back down to the ring where Swerve just puts his arms out and is like, go ahead, give it to me. And Joe fucking Uranagis him through a table, the contract signing table. And my God, that shit was awesome. I loved the ending to this show so damn much. And I gotta say, the way that Swerve brought the chain and got busted open by the chain, that felt planned by Swerve. You know what I mean? Like, I think he wanted to sign that contract in blood. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was that was just an awesome, awesome spot. Absolutely loved it. The Coog asks, are we going to do a Super Card of Honor watch along? I am not sure, Coog. It's on like a Friday night, right? It's on this Friday?
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to.
Yeah, I'm not even able to see it. I got stuff to do on Friday.
Yeah, so unfortunately not. It looks like a great show. I mean, I think it's going to be awesome. So I hope you enjoy it. But I don't pay for Honor Club just because, again, I don't have like an enjoyable way to watch Honor Club. It hasn't worked on my laptop, and I haven't bothered to try it again since I dropped it. And I wish they would I wish they would make like console apps for it, because like a lot of the streaming services like have console apps. So I usually watch everything. If it's not cable, I watch it on my Xbox. So
Okay.
like, I don't know what, like, I guess I don't know if it's like expensive or like to do, but like I would love if Tony Khan makes like an Honor Club Xbox app or a PlayStation app or whatever, like I'll resubscribe. I don't have a way
Okay.
to enjoyably watch it. So because I don't want to watch it on my phone. Like I don't want to sit there. I don't want to sit behind me in my comfy couch and watch wrestling on my phone if I don't have to. So no,
So
I don't watch Ring of Honor, unfortunately, because of it.
well,
But
you
yeah.
somehow just segued right into what I wanted to talk about after the show here. Um, so did you see the tweets that were going around of like something huge is going to happen in the world of AEW and it's going to start World War III on Twitter with the Fed fans? So I kind of sat there with with myself and thought about it. Like, what on earth could actually happen that would really put people in like a stir or a bit of a frenzy, right? So I thought to myself, okay, the WWE has signed a deal with Netflix, right? And then I said, all right, well, who is Netflix's like enemy per se, or who would be the alternative to Netflix? And I kind of got in my head over towards Prime. What would you think about AEW somehow partnering with Prime? Now, let me finish the thought here. Prime is sponsored with the NFL. They do the Thursday night football games. And Tony Khan is an owner of an NFL football team. Do you think it's possible that the NFL or Amazon Prime are going to be getting involved with AEW? Do you think that's a thing that we could see?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I think that the relationship with Warner Brothers Discovery is really important to AEW and to Tony Khan. Um, I just think that kind of trumps things. And like, could they use like an offer from Prime? I mean, I guess whoever pays more is going to win it out, but
Yeah.
I just see I think the future of the content is going to be on cable with Max being pay-per-views. I think that we've talked about it a lot. WWE and AEW are in two very different places. One is 5 years old, the other one's like 75 years old.
Yeah.
WWE can take their cable product and they can afford to put it on Netflix because they're going to get the revenue from Netflix. People are still going to watch it because, I mean, we saw it like 3-4 years ago when Vince was still running WWE and like the product was like bottom of like the lowest quality it had been, right? And there were still like 2 million people watching Raw at that point. So that you have a group of people, a bubble of fans that they don't watch anything else in terms of wrestling. They will tune in because it's literally been a part of their whole lives, right? Like that's just what they do. They're programmed to watch Monday Night Raw every single Monday night at 8 o'clock. Like that's the benefit of being around for generations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you become integral to people's daily schedules and routines. And that's something that AEW, obviously as a 5-year-old company, doesn't have that luxury where they have to work to maintain and to grow. Whereas WWE, they don't have to do that. Like they can go on Netflix and people are going to watch it on Netflix. And then non-wrestling fans are going to get mad that Netflix is like $30 a month.
Yeah.
Because it's just, man, I feel
Or
so bad for
what if
non-wrestling fans who have Netflix.
what if like it's not going to be included in normal Netflix? Like you're going to have to pay extra, and all these people are like, "Yeah, I already got Netflix, hell yeah!" And then they throw another fee at them.
I don't know,
But I
man.
don't
But
know. I have no idea what's going to happen there. But
regardless, I think that, AEW, I can't see them making a shift to Prime and still being on Warner Brothers television. Maybe it's a weird disconnect for me, but
yeah,
I just don't see that happening. I think Warner Brothers, if you're in on AEW and you're Warner Brothers, you are all in, pun intended, and you're getting the pay-per-views on Max.
yeah. Now, what's up, Sergio? The Coog just threw something in chat that I am very surprised I did not think about. What if, because Endeavor TKO is a publicly traded company, now I believe they're splitting that again and they're going to go just Endeavor and they're taking TKO private or something weird like that?
Okay, so what's going on is that Endeavor owns TKO.
Okay.
So that's number one. Endeavor has 51%, I believe is the number, of voting power in TKO or something along those lines. Like they have 51% of the shares. So for all intents and purposes, they are a majority owner of TKO. Endeavor is going privately owned.
Okay. And
TKO is staying.
Gotcha.
TKO is staying publicly traded. But the thing is, based off how it's structured, Endeavor going private means that changes to WWE can be made, and the investors don't really have a voting power per se. Now, keep in mind, Endeavor is trillions of dollars, trillions with a TR, dollars in debt. So, if you're a WWE fan, you should definitely be concerned about this. I would expect cost cutting from them,
What
which
if
would
they
probably mean more releases, probably a lot more releases, to be honest, and maybe even lower budgeting. Like in terms of like, I wouldn't be surprised if WWE maybe some people would like this. I mean, I definitely don't like how flashy WWE is sometimes, but I could see them totally kind of doing a 180 and maybe like even going a more UFC approach where it's a very simple look and aesthetic, which honestly, again, might be a positive for them. But if you like the big, flashy, gaudy stuff, you might not be happy with the future.
What if they sell a massive chunk to Tony? What if they're like, okay, this shit's for sale, and Tony's like, oh, okay, thanks for the
I actually
discount.
thought about that, and I think it would be so cool because here's the thing, right? Like,
Oh
and
my
I've said this
God.
forever, like, if they're trying to dump costs and you're Tony Khan, how do you not buy that WCW and ECW tape libraries? Like, how do you honestly? And like, I think you're already kind of like low key seeing that like happen. Like, here's the thing, right? Like, the way businesses work is that they get the wheels turning on things before it's even made known. And if you think about it, they've made a big step back. Like, look at WrestleMania this year, right? Being in Philadelphia. There was a lot of, remember all the rumbling last year about how much they were planning on doing like ECW homages in Philadelphia? And like, if you look at it, like they were saying Rob Van Dam was going to be brought in, and then they decided we're not bringing Rob Van Dam in. They don't really have, I mean, they might do something surprise the day of, but they don't really have anything ECW planned. The only thing that I could think of is Paul Heyman getting inducted into their Hall of Fame. But who's inducting Paul Heyman? Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns.
Which I said it in the Discord. I think that is very similar to how Triple H buried Sting, like, and that was disrespectful to WCW. I think that inducting Roman Reigns into your Hall of Fame and having Paul Heyman inducted into your Hall of Fame and having Roman Reigns, of all the fucking people in the world, to be the one to induct him is all you need to know about how they actually feel about ECW. Because Paul Heyman's legacy, and you know, I have a bias as a Philadelphia native, and you know, I've lived here my whole life, and like that's his legacy. His legacy is ECW. Everything he did in WWE has been excellent work. That doesn't mean that that's his legacy. And for like, there are so many people that you could have called. Like, why is Tommy Dreamer not inducting Paul Heyman into their Hall of Fame? And before you say, oh, well, he's an Impact, they fucking had their Impact Women's World Champion on the last Royal Rumble 2 months ago. So I don't want to hear that the Impact thing. Like, that's just nonsense to me.
Having Roman Reigns do it turns Paul Heyman's induction into an advertisement for WrestleMania. That's what it does.
Yeah, for sure. Like, why does Roman Reigns get to be the one? Like, okay, so he's been Roman's manager for the last 2-3 years. What the fuck are we doing? What are they doing? Like, I don't even like the guy, but Bully Ray would make more sense. Like, bring in the Dudleys, bring in Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, Sandman. You could go on and on and on and on. And they're not even AEW contracted guys, so you can't even say like, oh, well, we don't want to bring anyone from AEW in. Like, there are so many people that you could bring in that have never even appeared on AEW television. Like, it's just fucking sickening. It's disgusting. And I said it a few weeks ago, and I mean it. It's like, if you are a WWE fan, you do not get to claim to be an ECW fan. Like, if ECW was around today, ECW would not like WWE. They would not mesh. They are not cut from that cloth. Like, it's WWE bought their rights to them and then try to, you know, parade them around like a corpse. Then like, they are not the same. They're just not. So I'm sorry, but facts are facts.
I agree.
Shane Douglas, that's a good one, Coog. It's a great one. It's the first ECW champion. Shane Douglas is vital to the history of that company.
Seriously.
You know what I mean? Like Mick
There's-
Foley, you could bring Mick Foley in. Cactus Jack did, was there in ECW. Fuck, you could even argue Steve Austin could do it because Steve Austin got fired by Eric Bischoff and then he went to ECW while he was hurt. And
it
like
really feels like
he did shoot interviews on ECW television about Eric Bischoff. Like there's so many people you could choose and you go with Roman Reigns and it's just like you've made your point clear.
Well, for me, it feels like it was supposed to be Brock Lesnar, and then they were like, "Oh shit, what do we do now? Oh, never, whatever, just do Roman." Like they just didn't even think about it. They're like, "Oh, just do Roman."
Yeah, but again, it's just like even Brock. Like I guess Brock makes more sense, but like this is the Hall of Fame. Like it's his legacy. When Paul Heyman retires, like obviously WWE fans will know him, but if you ask a pro wrestling fan, someone who doesn't just watch WWE, maybe they do watch WWE, maybe they don't. I don't care. But if you ask a pro wrestling fan who watches pro wrestling, not just that one place, what is Paul Heyman's legacy? ECW. That's the founder of ECW. It's the father of Extreme Championship Wrestling. So, like, why are we not going to play into that as much as we can while you're in Philadelphia? The ECW chance that Paul Heyman is going to get on Friday night at the Wells Fargo Center is going to be fucking deafening. And yet we have Roman Reigns inducting Paul Heyman. It's like, all right, well, just go fuck yourself. Like that's that's all I can say is just go fuck yourself. It's an insult.
That's funny. All right, well, I think that's gonna do it for me. You got anything else you want to go over?
Yeah, it really sucked that Tony Khan laid off some of his wrestlers this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. There was nobody that jumped out at me where I was like, "What?" Like they all made sense to me. So it is what it is. It's a business.
Yeah, well, I mean, we will, Jeff. You can't say that when WWE AEW does it. When WWE does it, how could they do this? Like we can't do that. That's just wrong.
Well, it's expected of WWE. It's very rare that it happens in AEW. And there was a lot of support on Twitter for, the ones who were released. And I noticed a lot of people were saying the same thing. I definitely don't think they're told to say this because they no longer work for the company, but they all mentioned getting the dreaded phone call. That's cool that they at least get, like an actual phone call telling them, rather than just wondering. So.
Yeah, but look, man, like, and I get it, but at the end of the day, why did they let go of Dasha as Macho? Well,
I mean, names wrong all the time.
Yeah, that was the one where, like, not that I agree with her losing her job, but like when people were like, "She's great," and I was like, "Is she?"
There was 4 weeks in a row where I didn't even like to admit it, but 4 weeks in a row where she messed someone or something got messed up.
I think that like look, at the end of the day, I'm going to always be fair, like I said, and the things that WWE does, and I just like them for a reason. I'm not going to accept it just because it's AEW. For me personally, that's how I keep it real. The cuts were not the way I would have done it. I think that there are a few on there that are really shitty. The one that really comes to mind is the Anthony Henry one. Dude's got a broken fucking jaw right now, and you fired him while he's at home hurt. If the WWE did that, we would be sitting here on this podcast fucking castrating that company. So in turn, that's fucking disgusting. Don't do that. That was gross. I think that cutting Jose and the boys really kind of hinders your current on-air product. I think LFI is going to feel very directionless now. I mean, because you don't really have a guy there that can be a mouthpiece. And I definitely don't want to see them throw out Alex Abrahantes there, because at that point, I would have to crack down on them for that as well, because we talk about WWE throwing all the Hispanics together. Like, I don't need AEW doing that as well. That would be cringe. And then Dalton Castle losing his boys, that affects that character. So I think that you've actively kind of hurt two of your acts right now, even if one of them's not really on TV. And then just the nature of the cuts in general. Like, I can't stand behind. I can't get behind it. I think something AEW has always done that I've appreciated is you let the guys, sit out their contracts, and then you just don't re-sign them. And I think that's the right way to do it. And so I definitely am disappointed in Tony and the company. And obviously it's a business, and I know that. I understand that. That doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean that it's justifiable. So very disappointing in that regards for the company and for Tony. I speculated in the Discord, and I don't think it's true, but like, God, I hope that like Punk didn't say. I hope he didn't just make these cuts because Punk was like, Tony's a nice guy, but he doesn't know how to run a business. I really hope Tony wasn't just like, you know what, I'm gonna make some fucking business choices right now.
Business
Like, I don't think he
decisions.
actually did that, but like, God forbid, I hope that's not what fucking
No.
happened.
Well, I'll definitely say it didn't bother me as much as seems like it did you and maybe some others, but you know, it is what it is. There were some releases, but yeah, I'm not too like I will be honest, the Jose one confused me a little bit, so we'll see where that goes. But as far as the boys go with Dalton Castle, remember when they first came around, it was usually just 3 random dudes or 4 or 5 random dudes, and then it kind of like all of a sudden became the same 2 or 3 guys. I wonder if they're just going to go back to it being local talent, you know, or something like that, or if the boys in general are just going to be gone from Dalton Castle. So we'll have to see.
I don't know, but like again, like the Tate brothers, I think they were called Brandon and Brent. I think.
Yeah, those were the guys we met on the sidewalk walking back to the car.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like those guys were part of the gimmick, and like yes, they did replace like the extras being boys.
Yeah.
But like again, I think it was a great thing to do, and I think it's a loss. Macho, who had a broken jaw and got let go, that was Anthony Henry, who
From the
was part of
Workhorsemen.
the Workhorseman. Which very weird that JD Drake did not get the axe, but Anthony Henry did. I was very
Yeah.
surprised by that.
Makes me feel like something happened somewhere.
Now there was some speculation with the Anthony Henry release. And here's the thing, right? There are other instances here where like Stu Grayson. So Stu Grayson got released, right? There was a report going around that Stu Grayson, now obviously they were in Ottawa, Ontario, or in Canada, in Ottawa, Canada, for their tapings last week, which is Stu Grayson's hometown. They called Stu and told him that he was needed for work. And apparently, I don't know how true this is because I didn't get like a confirmation from like a higher up reporting, but it was basically like he told them he wasn't going to come in. He had plans.
Yeah, I heard that they only gave him
I can
like
understand the
6
justification.
hours.
Sorry, what was it?
I heard that he only was given like 6 hours notice, like, hey, we want you to perform. And he was like, what? No. So I don't know.
That's different then too. Like again, like I think it just comes down to like it's just that they're unacceptable. It's an unacceptable way to do business, and it's very disappointing. And again, it doesn't like really hurt the product, but now I think Roosh and LFI suffer for it, and because at that point they go from Jose being a mouthpiece, and you know, again, like maybe it's a little ignorant as someone who just speaks English and does not speak Spanish, but I think that at that point you're really kind of handcuffing what LFI can accomplish in a promotion in North America. I think that they kind of, because I mean, I guess Preston Vance is still on the team, but like I don't think Preston Vance is a very good talker personally. That's just not what I think he can do. So, you know, and I don't even know if Preston knows how to speak Spanish. So it might not make a lot of sense for him to be like a translator where Jose knew Spanish and English. So I don't like that.
I don't think Roosh needs a translator anymore. I think he's going to be able to hang his own.
I don't know, but LF5 kind of running as a faction and like it for those purposes, I think at that point you just kind of see Roosh kind of take a back seat. And like I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't think I am.
We'll see.
But yeah.
I do love me some Roosh though. Get him back on my television, Tony. All right, man. You want to go ahead and close us out?
Absolutely. Well, this has been episode 211 of the Broken Tables podcast. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us here tonight in the chat. Thank you to Macho, Coog, Sergio, Michael Duke. Really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you to... Right now we have 12 people currently in chat. I think we were a little bit higher tonight, but, you know, really appreciate it again. Thank you so much. Make sure you join the Discord, which you can find in the description down below. You can follow us on Twitter, where we're both pretty active on Twitter. I know I definitely am. You can follow us there. And to add to our weekly tradition, The number of the week is 55. So keep that in mind.
55 weeks.
55 weeks until AEW Dynamite outlasts WCW Nitro. But yeah,
It's just over a year.
Yeah, pretty much. So we will be back most likely on Monday for the Game Room podcast over on our other channel where we talk about video games. It's a little up in the air what day we're going because I'm on vacation this week, so I don't have my work schedule. So don't have that set in stone yet. But, you can subscribe to the other channel, get notifications there. So when we go live, you'll know about it. We go live weekly, talk about video games. We will be back, not this Saturday, because Collision is on at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and it doesn't look like a very enticing show. I'll probably just check the spoilers, and maybe they'll post promos on Twitter.
I mean, Penta versus Commander is going to be fire, so I'm DVRing that shit.
One match, though. I don't know if I'm going to stay up or check in on Sunday for one match.
Oh, 100% I'm going to DVR. I got to see Penta versus Commander. I got it.
Yeah, I hear you. But so, yeah, we'll be back next week for our Dynamite review then. So until next time, catch you guys later.
All right. And like Rome said, thank you guys very much for joining us here tonight. Sergio, we did see your comments. Triple H is a douchebag too. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us tonight. Everybody, love you guys in the chat. We will catch you guys back here next Wednesday for the Dynamite podcast. But until then, top guys out.